I'm Tony Moore, a dashing and successful comic book artist. You caught me making magic. Chris, I heard that you just hit 100 episodes. That's not quite as impressive as over 100 pages of Deadpool, but I guess it's something. I heard that you plan on discussing Liefeld's work on Deadpool this episode, so I'd like to add something, since I'm also a beloved Deadpool artist. I want you to drink one of these disgusting sodas every time you come across one of your so-called tropes. Good luck.
Oh, challenge. Challenge it. Challenge accepted.
Comic Tropes. Comic Tropes.
Hello, welcome to Comic Tropes. I'm your host, Chris. Let's establish something right up front. I have covered Rob Liefeld on this show before. Way back in episode 3 of this series, that was about 2 years ago, we discussed Liefeld's tropes, techniques, hallmarks, stylistic quirks, whatever you want to call his technique. We covered that. And we were looking specifically at New Mutants number 100 from 1991. Now that was only 3 years after Liefeld had broken into mainstream comics. And I'm curious, did his work ever improve? Because people kind of will poke fun at Liefeld because maybe he's a little slow with his deadlines. Sometimes he has weird anatomy like this infamous Captain America image. But he also can really sell comics. He's still very, very popular. So did he improve over those 20 years that I'm coming up with? Well, today I want to take a look at Deadpool Corps number 8 from 2011 and see if he still uses the same techniques. And every time we come across an example of one, I'm going to drink a strange, sometimes disgusting soda. I've found many like Ranch and Pimple. Strange sodas. I'm going to just try that. We'll get an honest reaction each time I come across one of his tropes. To play fair, let's look at a list of the same tropes that I mentioned back in episode 3, where I said you were very likely to come across these in any given Rob Liefeld comic book. So let's look at those tropes first. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Pouches on arms or legs. A new character that's clearly based off an existing popular one. A new character with the words blood, death, or wolf in the name. Women posed in a way that you can see both their butt and their boobs. A full panel grimace with way too many teeth. Eyes shut or drawn with no pupil and iris. Huge shoulder pads. Tiny feet or feet hidden by the panel, mist, rocks, and so on. A smooth round blob for either male or female crotch area. Characters breaking through more than 2 panels in a single page. No backgrounds for an entire page. Ponytails. Guns that look more like round tubes. Character details changing from panel to panel, copying famous art by others. So that's the list. Let's dig into Deadpool.
Clint Eastwood is Dirty Harry. He's just learned a new game. The Deadpool.
No, sorry, not the Deadpool. We want to read Deadpool, as in the comic book. The story of Deadpool Corps is a bit like Guardians of the Galaxy. Deadpool is assembled into a team by an Elder of the Universe, alongside alternate universe versions of him that include Lady Deadpool, Kid Deadpool, Dogpool, and Headpool. The 5 of them have just vanquished a threat called the Awareness, and on the way back to Earth are offered a job by a group of aliens called the Omega Confederation to basically stop a Union strike on a primitive planet rich in resources. But once there, Deadpool decides they can now also be paid by the King to defend the planet, and the mercenaries are now protecting the planet Krook. On page 1 of this story, we've jumped ahead, and it's a framing device showing Deadpool and Headpool ready to get past Omega Confederacy soldiers to their spaceship. And we hit our first lovely trope, guns that look more like tubes. Now admittedly, the guns on page 6 are even crazier, and they're not as bad as they used to be, but a tube gun is still a tube gun. So here's the first soda I'm going to be trying. It's called butter soda, and to me that does not sound good. I mean, butter improves a lot of our foods, But butter by itself, ooh, it actually smells just like butter. Here we go. Oh! Oh, that's not pleasant at all. Ugh. Oh, that's foul. That's not a treat. It tastes like a chemical. It doesn't taste real at all. It tastes like a chemical. While these aren't quite Liefeld tropes, there's more to learn about his technique on page 1. It's just sort of a weird lack of detail. Like, we have no idea what this spaceship hangar looks like, aside from the fact that it's full of the most sci-fi thing ever, wooden crates. The spacesuit that Deadpool is wearing is a bit plain, and his feet just barely break out of the panel, which is kind of awkward, but it's also not completely cluttered with extraneous lines. The poses are solid, and it makes sense what's happening panel to panel. But if you've been reading this whole story, two things will stick out. Deadpool used to have a propeller on his head, and he doesn't have them at all in this issue. And the spaceship here has a simple but fine design. But here is how it's looked in previous issues. Not exactly consistent. Moving on, the story cuts back in time 1 week with the Deadpool Corps sleeping in the woods with some native aliens called the Crook, and apparently they're all hungover. The king wakes the group up. We have a Liefeld trope. I'm tempted almost not to include it, but, you know, it is a thing that he did a lot of, and that's ponytails. Lady Deadpool has a ponytail, so it's an example. It's not an egregious example, but it is an example of something he does. I'll stick with the sort of yellow soda theme. This one's called Pirate Piss, which just sounds terrifying. Oh, by the way, here's my bottle opener. You can make anything into a bottle opener, even the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. It actually doesn't smell bad. It's a little chemically, but sweet. It doesn't smell like urine. Oh, okay. Even though it has a gross name, this has a sort of a butterscotch type of flavor. So I guess some of these just have a gross name, but not necessarily a gross taste. The butter was bad. This isn't bad. This Pirate Piss soda actually tastes okay. Liefeld tends to like hairstyles with ponytails, braids, wavy hair with widow's peaks, or sharp, angular, spiky hair. Moving on, the king explains an Omega Confederation dropship has landed, and Deadpool says it's time to start the revolution. Deadpool sends Lady Deadpool, Dogpool, and Kid Deadpool to stop the Omega mercenaries, while he stays to talk with the king. And even though it's only page 3, we have another trope. Character details changing panel to panel. If you look at panel 1, you can see that the red part of Deadpool's suit cuts outward around the chest. But the next time we see his chest in panel 4, it now cuts the opposite direction. I could find this minor kind of stuff all over the place on a lot of these pages. Little character details are constantly changing, like Deadpool's straps might disappear. You never see how his swords are connected in the back. They just sort of hang there. You know, chest details will not remain consistent. And it may seem minor, but at the same time, we have to be aware that Liefeld has simplified Deadpool's design a little bit at this point, because before this, like in 1993, Joe Madureira was drawing Deadpool with all these accessories. And in 1997, when Deadpool got his first ongoing series, artist Ed McGuinness arguably simplified the design, but it was always consistent. Now, Liefeld is the co-creator of Deadpool, so if he wants to change the design for Deadpool, I'm totally okay with that. I think that's 100% fair, but I do ask that it remains consistent, panel to panel, page to page. So that is a trope, character details changing. I'm going to try pickle soda. I like pickles, but the idea of it as a sweet soda is a little intimidating. Meanwhile, Liefeld will sometimes claim to be the sole creator of Deadpool, but I really don't think that's fair, because writer Fabian Nicieza gave Deadpool that sense of humor in the first issues of New Mutants and X-Force. And that's something that other writers like Joe Kelly and Christopher Priest continued to follow up on. They're the ones that introduced the idea of Deadpool addressing the audience and breaking the fourth wall. Without that, we just have a character that's very close to a ripoff of Deathstroke the Terminator. Very similar costume, weapons, name, powers. So, you know, I really think that we need to give a lot of credit for who Deadpool is to the writers that worked on Deadpool following Rob Liefeld. I think that it's a lot like Bob Kane claimed to be the creator of Batman. But the Batman that he supposedly created is not the same Batman that we see today. A lot of people contributed and changed who Batman was. Certainly, back in the day when Bob Kane was working on it, writers like Bill Finger and artists like Jerry Robinson contributed a huge amount to the mythology of Batman. And I think other artists and writers did that with Deadpool. All right, I've been putting it off. Here goes with pickle soda. You know what? That honestly just tastes like caffeinated brine. Oh, that just tastes like pickle juice from a pickle jar. It's okay. It's a little strong. It's a little strong. It's not the worst. If you like pickles, and I do like pickles, I could choke this down. I could choke this down. So far, the worst is definitely butter. Okay, back to the story. Let's just note that Deadpool's shoulder and arm are exposed because of a previous fight, and his arm looks totally normal. But by 1994, we learned what Deadpool looked like under his mask. Deadpool was experimented on by the Weapon X program that earlier created Wolverine. In trying to cure Deadpool's cancer, it gave him regenerative abilities, but it also gave his skin cancer that same regenerative property. So he's always been drawn with tumors all over his body. But that art wasn't by Liefeld, so maybe he wants to ignore it? That would sort of make sense, but Liefeld drew Deadpool kissing in issue 5 and gave him lumpy tumors on his face. I'll quickly mention one other trope, the Liefeld groin blob. A Liefeld classic, lots of lines indicating, I guess, fabric folds, all sort of pointing into the groin so that we look at it, and then just sort of a nice, big, smooth package. I don't think it's as egregious as he used to do, but it's still sort of there a lot of times. It's awkward. All right, this is called dirt soda, apparently. Ugh. Ooh, it doesn't smell good at all. Oh, that's foul. Oh my God. All right, I'm scared of this one because of how it smells. Ugh. Oh, I can't even describe that. It's pure chemicals and sugar. I can't figure out what to say this tastes like. Oh, it's awful. Like, there's an element of just something like mud or dirt. That is really bad. That is gross. I don't know who makes this one. They don't have a huge label on it. Dirt soda. Deadpool tells the king he'll need to organize his troops, and the king sends Deadpool to talk about it with his daughter, the princess, who commands their armies. And let's just note that the king has no pupils, a Liefeld trope. And yeah, we could argue that he's an alien, and that's just how he looks, but if we look at how Liefeld draws his daughter on the cover, she does get pupils. So it's just a thing he does. A thing I'm a little tempted to overlook, but all the heroes in the book get masks with white eyes, so he's already skipping a lot of eye detail, which is one of the most expressive tools an artist has in their arsenal. In my arsenal is stuff like pimple or ranch, but I'm going to try bacon. Bacon might be good. I like bacon. Will it translate to an okay soda? That does not smell like bacon to me. Ah. Okay, I mean, at a stretch there's some sort of bacon element in there, but it honestly just, it's sort of got like a burnt charcoal type of feel to it. Oh. Deadpool wanders into the woods and instantly comes across the princess bathing in a waterfall. Or rather, sort of in the vicinity of a waterfall. It looks like she's just about having an orgasm. I've gone swimming under waterfalls a few times. It's fun. I didn't have as much fun as the princess seems to be having. We cut back to the clearing where the Omega Confederation mercenaries land, and check out those guns. If I hadn't had a soda for the guns on page 1, I'd be having them now, but there is a different trope we see. One of those aliens is sporting humongous shoulder pads. And you know what? This was a Liefeld trope in a huge way in the 90s. I don't think it's that predominant in these issues. It shows up here, but I'd consider that kind of minor and, you know, an okay accessory. It was on everybody back in the day. Alright, this one's called Bug Barf. I'm really hoping this is just a name and that the soda itself isn't that bad. It smells kind of sweet. That's actually good. This is called Always Ask for Avery's Bug Barf. You know what? This actually tastes good. This tastes kind of like citrus. A little less chemically than Mountain Dew, actually. It just tastes like a fruit punch that's carbonated. For some reason, while Lady Deadpool confronts the aliens, they start out taller than her, and a couple panels later are significantly shorter. Maybe he's just trying to get out of this issue. If so, mission accomplished, because on the next page, he's already dead, in a full-page splash where Lady Deadpool shoots everyone. The Deadpool team kills all the aliens and blows up the spaceship, walking away without looking back. Seems like a good opportunity to make a joke about that, but instead we have some feet that are chopped off. Images where the feet are chopped off right at the ankle, that's definitely something Liefeld used to do a lot of. This seems to be the only panel where he really does that here, so it is one of his tropes, and I'm going to try peanut butter and jelly soda. Peanut butter and jelly is kind of good, but as a soda sort of mixed together, I really don't know. Sounded weird to me. Alright, well, let's just do it. Oh, that doesn't taste like peanut butter and jelly at all. Not even a little. Oh, that just tastes foul. Let me make sure. Oh, it tastes a lot like the dirt soda, to be honest. That doesn't taste at all like peanut butter or jelly. You know, regarding the feet, I think that Liefeld's art in the 90s, the feet were awful. Like, they were just tiny little triangles, or they were hidden by something, like, really contrived, like just a mound of maybe who knows what, or smoke. Things like that would always obscure the feet. He doesn't really hide them that much in this issue. So I think he's gotten a lot better at that. He must be aware of some of those criticisms. The shape of the feet is still a little weird. It's not a lot of detail, but it is definitely better than what he used to do. I suspect Liefeld still does not like drawing feet, because if you look at the cover of this issue, you'll see that he did hide Deadpool's feet. Back to the story. The princess agrees with Deadpool's philosophy of the planet protecting its resources, and they go off to plan a proper defense. Meanwhile, the Omega Confederacy is furious about Deadpool turning on them, and they begin planning on hiring someone to take Deadpool and his team out. Back on the planet, Deadpool begins using their resources to build up a new modern city, which worries Lady Deadpool and flat out angers the king, who preferred the old ways. How do we know he's angry? We get a full panel grimace! Do you know how hard it is to, like, sort of bare both the upper and lower teeth and pull your lips back like that? And then if you tried to talk like, I'm mad at you, Deadpool, you can't do it. It's hard. You can't really talk like that. All right, that's a trope, and I'm just gonna bite the bullet and try Pimple Pop Soda, which this sounds disgusting. Just disgusting. This is by Gross Gus, though, that did the Pirate Piss one. It smells sweet, not foul. Still, it's called Pimple. It's marshmallow. Alright, just a gross label. The soda itself is good. I think we're seeing what it is. Some just have a gross label, but it still tastes okay. And some have weird names like dirt and peanut butter and jelly, and they're just disgusting. Now the princess shows up to argue with her father that modernizing things is good. And here's the last trope we're going to come across in this issue. Notice anything about this page? How about the fact that we have no real idea where any of this is taking place? There's absolutely no background in this entire page. Not a single panel has so much as a detail to give us a hint at where this is taking place. Out of context, this page is confusing. It's strange not to see even any background. All right, I've put this off long enough. Last trope I'm coming across in this issue, so I'm going to try ranch soda. My friend Tony told me this was pretty gross, and I have to admit, I hate ranch dressing, so I'm dreading this. There's no way this is going to taste good to me. Oh! Oh my God! It smells bad. Oh! It smells like feet. It smells like really bad feet. And buttery. Oh! Oh! Oh, that's bad. Oh! Oh my God, I don't know how he drank this. This is too disgusting. Oh. Ranch dressing soda. It tastes all buttery. Regarding the no backgrounds, I think that Liefeld definitely used to be guilty of doing this more. He used to use a lot of cross-hatching or speed lines to sort of substitute for backgrounds. But I think he sort of figured out how to make his art look better, and that involves collaborating. The colorist has become a key ally for Rob Liefeld. Let's jump back and check out how much of the background in this previous page is actually done by the colorist. This forest, this sky, Liefeld at most only offers some outlines. The colorist handles most of the work. And he'd go on to give them even more of the workload. In last year's Deadpool Bad Blood, there are tons of shots where Liefeld didn't add any detail to characters or backgrounds, but it still looks pretty fantastic. He got a colorist to add the depth, shading, and texture to make the art look really good. Back to the story, the princess sleeps with Deadpool in order to convince him to order weapons for her people. In the next scene, he's wearing a very poorly tailored suit, and apparently he's going to have some sort of business meeting to get weapons. Some of the king's men attack him, and Deadpool kills them and holds a bar against one of their heads. We're told that that's a stapler. There are staples in the alien's forehead, but that doesn't look like any stapler I've ever seen. The ship with the weapons arrives, and Deadpool is greeted by his former girlfriend, Broken Blade. So when we cut back to the framing device where the people on the planet are trying to kill Deadpool and team, the implication is his romantic life causes big problems for them. So now we're looking at Rob Liefeld's art from more than 20 years into his career. And the question is, does he still use the same techniques? Yes, he does. Does he use them as much? No, I think he has improved. All right, I gotta breathe. Whew. I was surprised. I legit thought that if I picked up any Rob Liefeld comic, he was still going to be as guilty as ever of the same techniques and tropes. And you know what? I was surprised to find that while I'm finding little examples here and there, like, yeah, that guy has shoulder pads, the feet are cut off here, overall, he's not as guilty as he used to be. He doesn't have the same sort of character design sensibility. The one thing I will criticize him for is sort of a lack of detail. And I don't mean detail in terms of cross-hatching and stuff. I mean that there's hardly any backgrounds. Even the pages that have backgrounds have minimal backgrounds. Is there texture to the costumes? Not really. Everything is basically skin-tight, form-fitting for everybody. And I just think that there's no emotion other than action. Like, we don't see any panels that build suspense or are tense or are sad or things like that. I don't get that level out of him. So I think he's a little one note. The action stuff is still kind of fun. I kind of still like it, actually. I like it more than I thought I would. So, yeah, I think I learned something. Rob Liefeld doesn't really draw like even this anymore. He has made some improvements. It can be hard to tell if you just take a quick glance, but he's not as guilty of the flaws that people would accuse him of being guilty of from the 90s. The problem was, that's when everybody knew him from. He was selling millions of copies of these comics. He blew up and became super popular when he was still a very, very young artist. So he actually has improved somewhat. I'm not going to personally put him on the level of a guy like, George Perez, Neil Adams, Mike Mignola. I'm talking like really solid, great comic book illustrators. I'm not gonna do that. But he's not as bad as I think he gets made fun of and picked on for. I don't think that's quite fair. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I gotta thank all of you. It's 100 episodes of this show, plus some episodes, of some other things, some drawing, some live streams, so some other thoughts on comics and recommendations. I'm here because of all of you. I got to 100 episodes because you're watching, you're subscribing, you're sharing. That's the only reason I'm still going, is because it continues to grow, and that's what makes it fun. There's some fan art this week. There are 3 pieces. I've got this piece by Ravi Shankar.
Tropes.
I have a piece by returning artist Ken Ives. And I have this piece by Kevin Mayle. Now I wrote down their names all on pieces of paper, shaking it in this little, what do you call this? I guess I would carry this, carry the sodas in this. Excuse me. I'm just sort of winging this. The winner of the Gachapon this week is Kevin Mayle. And he has a YouTube channel, so check that out. What will he actually win? Well, we're going to dig into the Gachapon bag, find out. What's this? This is some sort of Super Mario piece. I hope you enjoy Super Mario, Kevin, or know somebody that does. This is some sort of like a Super Mario Gachapon. Folks, can't thank you enough. It's been 100 episodes. I hope I make 100 more. I've got a lot of ideas. Thank you so much for sticking with me, subscribing. Many of you are supporting my Patreon, and for sharing. It means a lot to me. I have fun doing this show. It's very important to me. It keeps me energized and passionate about a wide variety of comic books. And I just have to thank all of you. And I have to thank my stomach for not making me throw up, especially after that disgusting ranch soda. Tony Moore, I've got my eye on you, buddy. That wasn't nice. That was not a nice challenge. All right, folks, keep reading comics.